Hello, and welcome to the October edition of the Landlord Law Firm's Landlord News. I'm Robert Chesson. In this month's edition of Landlord News, we'll cover three items. The first is the fair housing hearing in Hartford last week. The second is the International Property Maintenance Code work group. And the last is Civil Gideon, a concept that we may find coming out of New York to Connecticut in the near future. Our first story comes out of Hartford concerning the Fair Housing Program Review hearing held at the Legislative Office Building at the Capitol. A large contingent and coalition of landlords and landlord organizations came to show their support for the program's review and for the efforts that we are seeking in order to make the process of fair housing actually fair for all parties. The Connecticut Apartment Association, the Connecticut Property Owners Association, Connecticut Business and Industry Association, and many individual landlords came out to testify on behalf of landlords and the changes we would like to see in the fair housing discrimination process. Initial reports suggest that we certainly got the interest of the committee who is reviewing the process, and that we can anticipate that there will be further effort necessary but invited in order to make some changes that should improve the process for all parties involved. If you'd be interested in seeing some of the information that was presented to the committee, you can check the link below and see the testimony that we provided on behalf of the Connecticut Apartment Association about the whole process of fair housing discrimination complaint review. In our second story, on behalf of the Connecticut Apartment Association earlier this week, I sat in on a working group to consider bringing the International Property Maintenance Code to Connecticut. Connecticut has previously adopted codes regarding building codes and fire codes. However, they're now contemplating the possibility of adopting the Property Maintenance Code from a similar organization. A working group has been convened at which the Connecticut Apartment Association has been invited to take a seat to consider whether or not this code can, will, or should apply to Connecticut properties throughout the state. Stay tuned here and to the Connecticut Apartment Association newsletter for further updates as this process moves along. You can anticipate this could be a rather lengthy process, but if you'd like to get involved, now's the time to put your name in the hat. And to our last story, a recent article out of New York suggests that civil Gideon laws may soon be applied in housing cases where tenants face the possibility of evictions. Civil Gideon laws are the laws that would be similar to those laws on the criminal side that give someone a right to an attorney even if they're unable to afford one themselves. In Connecticut, certain individuals who face eviction cases in housing court can receive the assistance of various legal aid organizations, assuming they qualify financially. The article would suggest, at least in New York, that there's a contemplation that everyone facing an eviction would ultimately get a state-sponsored or funded lawyer to assist in the defense of an eviction. Once again, this is an article in New York suggesting that this may be coming in New York, but for those of you who follow the way laws flow in and out of Connecticut, it is often the case that we see things happening in New York and in New York City migrate their way into Connecticut law. We haven't seen this proposal actually arrive in Connecticut yet, but we'll keep our eyes open for it and keep you posted as we learn more. Thank you for joining us for this month's edition of the Landlord Law Firm's Landlord News. I'm Robert Chesson, and we'll see you next month.